The hoard Jesse James didn't get. Now, it wouldn't be something that was lost away in a Carson City mine somewhere. It was found at the U.S. Treasury. But how in the hell do you lose $2.9 million? We'll talk about it in a minute. Now, if you know anything about the famed history of silver dollars or the U.S. mints, you're probably aware that I'm referencing the famous Carson City silver dollar hoard. But a lot of people really don't understand and have the wrong idea of what the hoard was, how they were able to generate 2.9 million coins when the mint closed almost 80 years prior. Knowing this information still begs that question. How did they get $2.9 million from the Carson City Mint? To explain, we need to understand what happened in 1964, but don't worry, we'll get there in just a moment. Who knows what this is? That's correct, they're bills, smart aleck. But more important, it's a silver and gold certificate. Now I'm going to talk about the silver certificate. This was legal tender, and it was issued by the federal government in the 1800s. And is stated in the name, the silver certificate was a paper that allowed you to cash in for its worth in silver. See, in 1878, the Bland-Allison Act was put into law. This stated that miners could deposit their bullion at a bank or at the treasury in exchange for a paper currency that was much more easily managed. You would or could redeem it at any time for the silver coin. A silver dollar was worth 1 silver coin. A $10 note was worth 10 silver coins, etc., etc. You get the point. But to meet the demand, the U.S. Treasury had to stockpile silver coins. Of course, if somebody turned up and they wanted the coins, they had to have them on hand. It was payable in silver. And who was the front runner of this? Yep, you guessed it, the Carson City Mint. Looking at this table, you can see the numbers by years. And this is what was cataloged within this particular hoard. You'll see the mintages of how many coins were minted from the Carson City, and then you'll see how many of them were held hostage at the U.S. Treasury. So while the majority of the coins had common dates, for instance, 1882 to 1884, there were some coins in this hoard that were very, very rare and very, very collectible. Those were sold in separate offerings. However, between 1972 and 1974, GSA tried 7 times to sell the GSAs, and most of them, they were met with mild failure. The low silver value and the high price of silver coins just wasn't creating an environment conducive to the sale of the Morgans. Remember that the number of coins that were held in the Treasury in 1893 accounted for about 20% of all coins minted from the Carson City Mint. Check out this graph again. But with the huge melt-off that occurred in the early 1900s, and that's a fun story, the destruction of the GSA hoard would have represented a total loss of about 72% of all denominations and years that came from Carson City. Talk about a huge impact. Would that be a collector's dream or a nightmare? See, these are the thoughts the Fed had too. But hold up. What about the silver certificates? How are they going to meet the demand if they sell these off? Well, let's cue 1964. Well, actually, 1963. So in 1963, the House of Representatives passed Public Law 8836. Bum, bum, bum. Yep. To people's dismay, this repealed the Silver Purchase Act and called for the retirement and recollection of $1 silver certificates. Now, you could still have them. They just were no longer held by the silver and gold standard, and that turned them into fiat. After the initial audit, the Treasury still had to sell them off. And after doing an investigation, they found that they had 2.9 million silver dollars. So Congress authorized the General Service Agency, or as I've stated a number of times, GSA, to sell the hoard off to the general public. Now, they tried, as I stated, 7 different times and 7 different strategies. Those strategies are going to be listed here on the screen, but they couldn't get them to sell because the price of silver was just not in the right place. And again, $30 for a coin back in the day was a lot of money, especially for something that wasn't as pricey. But this would change in 1980 when the price of silver started to rise. In fact, it rose a lot, like a lot. And the GSA was finally able to fulfill its function and complete the sale of the 2.825 Morgan silver dollar coins. Today, those coins sell for way more. And depending upon the year, that $30 investment could have yielded you 1,000% gain. Pick one up if you have the chance. Try to find the black box and the GSA holder. Oh, by the way, NGC will even grade them in the GSAs now. If you like this story, then you got to go check out another hoard that was by far the largest privately held hoard in U.S. history, at over 407,000 coins owned by a single man in a single place. And his love for the government, pretty much non-existent. You can see this over my shoulder. Go ahead and click on it. Check it out. We'll see you over there.